Part of the whole reason I like to travel is because I love eating at new restaurants. The small trattoria nobody's ever written about on top of a mountain with no internet service. But when you travel with a new baby, you realize, oh, we are never eating at a restaurant. Not one single trattoria. You know, all the restaurants, they open after 8. The meals last 4+ hours. It wasn't in the cards. Not on this trip and not with this baby. Okay, so this was our last night in Sicily, and I had done a big grocery shop earlier in the week once I, realized, oh, we're gonna be cooking a lot. We had a lot of random vegetables and stuff to get through, so even though it is something I would do, I am not gonna bring an eggplant in my carry-on. But this is sort of the type of cooking that I'm doing more often than not. It's like a fridge clean out, a sort of real something from nothing situation. I could only find 2 knives in the entire house, and one was a boning knife, one was a serrated knife, and neither were sharp, but that's okay. They mostly got the job done. Obviously, Sicily, famously an island, and so I figured we'd be probably cooking a lot of seafood, but I could not find a single creature from the sea to purchase. Not a seafood market anywhere, and which was fine. There were tons of vegetables, tons of beautiful meat markets, and I was able to somehow communicate that I wanted this pork chop 2 inches thick with the 0 Italian I spoke. It's the universal language of pork chop. But like the knives, there were just sort of small things that they didn't have. Like there were no skillets. So I was like, okay, well, I will then grill the pork chop. Earlier in the week, I had also bought some potatoes. So I decided to boil them in a very cute small pot in some salted water, which I would then take out when they were tender, peel the skins off, and then put a little dab of butter over the top to melt, and then maybe some little anchovies on top. I've been boiling and steaming a lot of food these days because I'm making baby food, but I've really fallen back in love with the texture of like a very custardy, sort of tender vegetable. So grilling eggplant, not unlike roasting eggplant, just requires honestly so much olive oil. It is wild. Otherwise, it just becomes really sort of leathery and dry, basically inedible. So I doused it with a ton of olive oil, ended up actually like using almost all of it, which was a mistake. But anyway, this is a pretty high heat, and I just kind of turned it all the way up in the same way that I would for a pork chop because I knew that I was gonna grill it kind of at the same time. And so I thought, okay, I'll take these tomatoes, I'll toss them with a little salt, and they'll get really nice and juicy, add some garlic, and then I'll spoon that over the warm grilled eggplant. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe what if I grill the tomato, which was top 5 worst ideas I've ever had. You simply cannot grill a single cherry tomato. But again, no skillets. And I was like, no, bad idea. I understand gas grills are a wonderful innovation, and I own one. I use it. I love it. It's very convenient, but I just feel like they never get hot enough. I feel like the flavor is never as good as charcoal or wood. And I don't know. Sometimes I just wish that we either grilled with real fire or not at all, but whatever. Okay, this is not a complaint, but I'm saying there were no tongs in the house, and so that is why I'm using a fork, which I do not recommend, but just illustrating that it can be done. And again, using a dull knife is just so humiliating. Okay, I feel like I'm just doing like a laundry list of complaints, but okay. The other thing about grilling, which I think really happens with a gas grill more so than any other grill, is grill marks. They're not for me. They give Olive Garden commercial.
At the Olive Garden Italian restaurant, we speak a different language.
I don't care for them. So I'm pretty obsessive about anytime I'm grilling something, especially on a gas grill, turning it several times. So almost mimicking what it would be like to cook on a skillet. Whether you're roasting eggplant or grilling it, I feel like, and you've put so much olive oil on before you roast or grill it, it still wants so much more after it's cooked. It's just unbelievable, absolutely insatiable vegetable. Okay, I did find a spatula update. And then sometimes when the spatula is also just really not working, which again, we're supposed to grill with tongs, not a fork or a spatula, but your hands work. I don't necessarily recommend that, but they do work. Is this like the whole flare-up thing here? Is this video giving Olive Garden commercial?
Enjoy Olive Garden's new chicken crostata, grilled marinated chicken breast with our tomato Alfredo sauce.
So is Donna still in the picture?
Maybe.
People like to ask me, for whatever reason, like, what are your most memorable kitchen failures, or do you ever fail in the kitchen? And I sort of disagree generally with the premise that a person can fail in the kitchen. But yeah, sometimes I make food I'm not thrilled by. I run out of time, I don't have the right ingredients, I'm rushing, whatever. I would usually do something like sizzle these capers in some olive oil with garlic and some anchovies to pour over the tomatoes to make it even saucier. But I ran out of olive oil, something that would just simply not happen to me at home. And so this is what we ended up with, and it was great. There's something about vacation cooking that I especially like because you're really without your creature comforts, your usual tools, your favorite skillet, your sharp knife, your big olive oil you always have on hand. You realize it's not about having everything perfect. It's not about having all the things that you come to expect to have. But that's really refreshing for me. Even after all these years, I feel like every time I cut into, any sort of meat, a chicken, a pork, or steak, I still hold my breath thinking, what if it's overcooked? What if it's undercooked? Like the moment of truth when you first slice into it and you're like, oh my God, thank God, it's perfect, which, brag. But I still will never not worry that it's not right. And God, I just cannot say it enough. This knife is just so humiliating. I take it all back. I want to go home and be in my kitchen with my sharp knives. I'm very, classic. I'm very like salt, pepper, maybe a squeeze of lemon or something. But, using raw onion as seasoning is really, really nice. So, no, it was not a romantic restaurant. It was not a hidden trattoria. But there were tea lights. There were 3 tea lights, and that makes for really nice ambiance. The food was honestly very good, and the baby was fully asleep in the next room. And I would say, all in all, that makes it almost better than a restaurant.